welcome everybody to our webinar on sales prep. I'm going to keep my comments fairly quick. We'll get through the material I have, maybe 15, maybe 20 minutes, something like that. Then we're going to go and we're going to play with AI in this software called SalesPrep. So if you're at your computer and you can come along with us, we'll let you try some things out. We'll give you actually some access to the whole thing for 60 days. You can play with it more. So it's not going to be just Dan talking at you the whole time. We'll play with this a little bit. Just a real quick background first on how we got to this point. Some of you know new product blueprinting. We've been doing that for 20 years. This is using voice of customer, B2B, to invent and develop new offerings, new products, and so forth. Make sure that we understand what the customer's needs are. So then 2 years ago, after many of our clients said, should we be asking these questions all the time? We said, yes, we should. So we came up with something called Everyday Voice of Customer, which is kind of like a skinny down blueprinting, not really for new product development, but to every day figure out what the customers want, whether you're a salesperson or marketing or R&D, whatever. So that was 2 years ago. And then almost exactly 12 months ago, we said, I wonder if AI could make this more effective and more efficient. And so this is where SalesPrep fits, an AI tool to help us understand customer needs every day. So anyway, that's the intro. But before we go too far, let's just talk a little bit about AI. How can AI help us? What does it really do at its core? So this is my simple-minded view of AI. It's really, really good at taking everything mankind has learned about a topic and giving my brain access to it so I can think about it. The level of information that we can learn on a topic in seconds is absolutely unprecedented. So let's think about how we could use this to get a great start on voice of customer. Now, another thing that AI is really good at is it's taking a lot of information and summarizing and making a really nice explanation so other people can understand it. Now, we can even use AI without thinking, right? Hey, write me some content marketing on whatever topic. And that's a good efficiency tool, but that's really not where we're going to spend our time today. We're going to keep human brains engaged in this process. Now, here's the surprising thing about AI. The other thing it's really good at is helping me think better. So now I can role play with AI as the customer. So let's keep those things in mind. Some of the strengths of AI are it can help me get insights, learning what's already been learned, and it can help me develop skills, help me prepare and practice before I go out and talk to real humans. But hey, we humans, we're not chopped liver either. We're pretty good at some stuff. We're pretty good at getting the customer engaged so they want to tell us what their needs are. And we're pretty good at listening, or at least we should be, or could be, and developing our next question based on what they just said. So as we go through this short deck of PowerPoint slides, I'd like you to think about this. When we say the phrase sales prep, it's not just prep for insights. It is that. You'll see a report that prepares for the report, but it's also prep on the skills. We want to hit both of those. So yes, sales prep, as the name would indicate, is really good for sales professionals, but it can be used for technical support to analyze a problem more effectively, for marketing, product management, R&D to understand those problems customers have, for customer service, and even for our business leaders to build stronger relationships. So all of these are fair game for sales prep. Now, coming back to the sales function for a moment though, 75% of executive buyers say the salespeople are really unprepared. They don't understand our business. They don't understand the issues we face. So why are these salespeople not getting prepared? I mean, they're not getting called back because of this. Well, the reason is it takes a lot of time, or it used to take a lot of time to get prepared. So now with sales prep, in less than 60 seconds, you can get a report on company news, market trends, common problems, process steps, and company overview. We'll look at that in a little more depth in a few minutes. So now we can go in and we can ask better questions, questions that will start those conversations, icebreakers. We can ask them about trends we're familiar with. We can show interest because we've studied their world beforehand. We can challenge the norms with fresh ideas. And this is the most important thing. We can uncover and understand customer problems. That's the main thing you want to do with this probing if you want to be highly effective as a salesperson or as a marketing or technical person. Get in their world and really understand their problems. So, on the skill side of things, we'll be able to learn how to do this better. We have something we call the what, why, clarify probing method. It is probably the most popular B2B probing method available today, something we developed over many years in the blueprinting methodology. And so, you're going to master two types of preparation. Remember what they were? Insights, that'll be your report, and skills. That will be coming from the AI practice and some e-learning we've got. So the goal is to get into the customer's world. The most successful salespeople spend about half as much time talking about their stuff, and they spend a lot more time understanding the customer's needs. And we have some research behind this. 100 years ago, we first learned that selling is a skill that could be learned. Unfortunately, it was mostly about our world type of stuff. And then it was in 1988 that the landmark book Spin Selling came out and said, oh, it's really the salespeople who ask really good questions who are most successful. And this was reinforced with the Challenger sale. Surprisingly, it wasn't the people who take you golfing or take you to the game that were the strongest salespeople. It's the ones that understand the customer's business and challenge them with fresh ideas. Now, we did some research earlier this year that supported this. Our research shows a strong correlation between good probing skills and more successful sales. It also showed that salespeople who've been at this for 3 decades got pretty good at their probing skills. But surprisingly, it showed that salespeople who had like 3 or more sales training courses in their career really didn't do any better than the newbies. So for some reason, although we love sales training programs, and they can teach you how to close sales and negotiate wonderful things. Don't stop taking sales training courses. But the ability to probe better, that behavior, does not generally improve with those traditional courses. Ergo, the SalesPrep methodology is a nice add-on. As Scott likes to say, it's the fuel additive you add to your fuel tank. It gets you that extra mileage. So let's talk about the preparation steps. Why are we doing these company news, market trends, and so forth? Well, it helps me, if I'm the salesperson, shift to the customer's world, gives me icebreaker questions, lets me demonstrate I've done my research and I'm interested in them. It prepares me for the problems I'm likely to hear, gives me challenger questions I can ask. And if the company I'm visiting is new to me, I can do the research on them and get up to speed really, really quickly. So I'll be able to download a sample report, and you guys will be able to do this in a little bit as well. In fact, we'll do it all together here. That's got all these parts in it. But it doesn't have to just be PDF or laptop. You can see this stuff on your phone. Just click these different buttons on the top: news, common problems, process steps. And it is not a separate phone app. Okay, you don't have to go out to your Play Store or Apple Store. Basically, just go to your browser on your phone and go to salesprep.com, and it's exactly the same, syncs up with your laptop. Now, we do have e-learning. There's a lot more on how to use all of these sections we won't go into today. But let's imagine this. You make corrugated boxes, and your customer package and ship merchandise. That's their job to be done. And you create this report with news and trends, common problems, and so forth. Okay. Well, you can go even deeper on this. If you're looking at that problem of assembly time, you could click the problem brief, and you can download a 2-page report with all this information on it. So if you want to go really deep, you can. You can also click any of the trends. There's usually about 15 of those as well. And you can click any of the process steps. There's usually about 15 of those. So don't think of this as something that just salespeople will use, although some will go deep. Marketing, technical, R&D, anybody can really get into the customer's world very, very quickly, and in a good bit of depth now with these briefs. So that's how the report helps us with insights. What about the skills that we were talking about? So when you get to the customer, we have this what, why, clarify methodology that we like to use. And you ask them what questions. When do you see this problem? And how often does it happen? Then you move on to some why questions. Well, how does this impact you? And then you finally clarify. Are you saying you want to, always starts with the verb, minimize the time needed to set this up, or maximize corrosion resistance? That's the what, why, clarify method. And I'll give you a little bit more on that in a minute. So here's the guide. You'll be able to download this in just a little bit if you like it. You can ask some what questions. Can you describe this as a great what question? Where does it take place? When does it happen? How often? How long? Those are all what questions. Then when you really have an understanding of what's going on, you ask a why question or more. My favorite is, how does this impact you? That's my go-to why question. You might ask anything else if you think there's maybe something you didn't get. Then you move to that outcome statement. Are you saying you'd like to minimize the time needed to calibrate the equipment? And then this is really important. What do you ask next? Any other problems? That's where you go. Any other problems? Now, this requires practice, but the practice doesn't have to be with a human. You know, for many, many years, in fact, 20 years, we would have AIM coaches in our workshops that would work with our client teams to help them get better at their probing skills. We call that synchronous coaching. But now you can do asynchronous coaching with an AI guide that we call Claire. So let's imagine we're back to corrugated boxes to package and ship merchandise. And you ask, can you tell me what problems you're facing today? And the AI customer says, yeah, we're having problems with the durability of our coat. Okay, great. Then Claire says, hey, nice job, Dan. Good start here. Now ask them what questions, like maybe ask about what conditions. Oh, okay, fine. And then you ask your next question. So what conditions? Or you don't have to listen to Claire. I ignore her all the time. And then you go through this whole dialogue. At the end, she gives you some advice on how you did. So we're almost ready to try it ourselves. Let me ask you, if some of you would start thinking a little bit about a demonstration product of yours, because in a little bit, I'm going to demonstrate how this all works. And I can make up my own example, but it might be more fun if you guys offer me an example. So think about a product of yours. It's on your public website. Don't give us a double top secret one. And in a little bit, I'll ask you to maybe raise your hand, and Katie, you can unmute somebody, okay? And if nobody comes up with anything, I'll make up my own. But when we talk about learning, we think that some people may simply go out to the SalesPrep website and be so self-motivated that they can do the download reports, take the e-learning, do the SalesPrep AI guide, and it's going to be like, it's $20 a month. They can just keep doing that. And so that would be great if everybody did that. But our strong belief is if you have an entire sales force and you're expecting them to go out and do this, the majority will not. They're busy, they're otherwise engaged. So what we've been doing is offering a 4-hour virtual or in-person workshop. By the way, excuse me, if you've got a sales meeting coming up, an annual meeting, this is a great 4-hour addition onto your sales meeting. It means most people, when they put on sales meeting, they're looking for some training so they can write it off as a business expense. Well, this is one that actually is going to change behavior, okay? And so afterwards, people get emails. We have some follow-up sessions. We look for early adopters, recognize positive behavior, and all the sales prep stuff is included for a year, and it's fairly reasonably priced. So anyway, there's two ways of taking what I'm going to show you and applying it. One is individual, one-by-one, self-motivated. The other is, yep, we're going to do this for our whole team and boost their sales success. Now, it's your turn to jump in with me if you'd like. So you got a couple choices here. We're going to go out to a SalesPrep practice site, and we're going to enter in a customer, an offering, a job to be done. And I will do it really slowly. And if you just want to watch me, just sit back and watch me. But if you put in this access code, you can actually do one of your own and see how this works, okay? Now, this practice site is only good for today. But at the end of this webinar, I'm going to give you a code for the full-on sales prep 60 days. So you'll have full access to everything for 60 days. So if you want to start playing with it as I'm doing it to get familiar, feel free. So let's do this. We're going to go out to salespreppractice.com. And if for some reason that doesn't work, we've noticed some people have a little more success going to salesprep.com/practice. Who knows why that is? I do not know. But I'm going to jump out there now. I'm going to go out to the website. Let me make sure I am sharing this. Okie doke. Hopefully you can see this. Let me zoom in a little bit here. And again, if you want to follow along, I'll wait just a second here, and you can join me. So I'll pause just for a few more seconds. Either go out to salespreppractice.com or up here in the URL, go out to salesprep.com/practice. Okay. All right. I'm assuming everybody who wants to be here is here. If you're not, go ahead and put a message in the chat, and Scott or Katie can maybe help you get there. Okay. So let me see. Would anybody raise their hand if you have a product and a customer that we could? Okay, great. Is it Ben or Ahmed? Go ahead. I'll let you unmute him, Katie.
It's Ahmed. Hi.
Ahmed, how are you doing, Ahmed?
Fine. Thank you so much, then. Thank you.
Great. And let me ask you, what kind of products do you sell?
Basically, I'm selling both softwares, but also machinery, so equipment.
Let's do equipment because it's very tangible and people can understand it. What's your
Yeah.
equipment used for, Ahmed?
It's manufacturing equipment for packaging industry.
Oh, really? Oh, great. For the packaging industry. So what does
Yeah.
your machine what does it do?
Uh,
Does it
yes, it's kind of printing machines for packaging industries. So
I
basically
love it.
for food industry, medicines, uh, anything. So
Great. A printing machine. And does it is it and so I'm going to go ahead and put that up. Printing machine. And your
yeah,
customers use it. I'm going to start with a verb. They use it
yes.
to print what kind of give me one example, like cereal
Materials.
box.
So
What
they
is it?
print on paper, on film, on different materials.
And all these materials are packages, correct?
Yes, correct.
So, like, what would be an example? Like cereal boxes? We can get very granular on this.
Yeah, exactly.
Print. So let's say the customer they're gonna print cereal boxes.
Exactly.
And now, who would be the company you would be calling on that would be doing you buy your equipment and actually would print cereal boxes?
Yeah, it could be directly the brand owner, or it could be the subcontractor for these brands. I mean, print them for
So,
them.
so it could be
So,
like Kellogg or something. Kellogg
yeah,
cereal.
yeah. Of course, yes, you can go ahead with that.
Is that how you spell it? I don't even know how you spell Kellogg cereal.
Yeah,
Okay. Oh, look at that. I think I got it there. Okay. Kellogg Company. Yeah, they're good. They found it. Okay, good. Now, down here, and for everybody following along, just put in D03. Okay.
okay,
That's our magic code only for today. So if anybody else is following along, I'll wait here a little bit. You put in a customer and it'll find it pretty quickly. If it doesn't find it, because it's like a really small company, put in their website, that URL. Okay. Then put in your offering, whatever you do. And then when you put in what the customer does, we call this the job to be done. Make sure you start it with a verb. They use printing machines to print cereal boxes and then put in the access code. Everybody good? Okay, let's go ahead and we'll see what Ahmed's report is going to look like here. So hit create report. Now it's going out and you can see it's collecting market trends, it's collecting common problems, and it's collecting process steps. And so as it does this, I don't have to accept all of these. If some of them just don't seem to be relevant for me, I can undo these. I can uncheck them. I can do whatever I want on these things. Okay, so I got the market trends. And then down here below, I've got the common problems that are seen. And again, this is with printing cereal boxes, okay? It's using a printing machine to print cereal boxes. And then I've got a bunch of process steps. I got to design it, pre-press, and all this kind of stuff. And then down below there, I've got some news on Kellogg. They got to get rid of artificial ingredients and they're going to grow and yada, yada, yada. For some reason, it's just this week, it's only giving up 4 or 5. It normally gives about 12. We're going to get that fixed up. I don't know why but normally you'll see about 12 news items. So I'm going to click create report. And now I've got a cool report here on this whole thing. So I've got the company news there, and I've got the market trends here, and I've got the common problems here, and I've got the process steps here, and then I've got information on Kellogg, okay? Description, $6 billion company. It's a lot of cereal. There's the leadership team. There are the products, Pringles and cheese, and I didn't know that. Frozen foods, there's the competitors, and here's their published strategy. Now, so that is the information we've got here on them. But let's do this. If I click here, yeah, there we go. So you could also do this on the phone. So it doesn't have to be just on a laptop. You could be sitting in the lobby, kind of going over this information and getting kind of prepared for your visit with the customer. Okay, so a couple more things, and then we'll do a little bit of role playing here. So when you're down in this area here, like on market trends, maybe you're not really sure about what this smart package integration is. So you click the trend brief here. It gives you a little summary right here, integration of QR codes and whatever NFC technology is. But I want to know more about it. So I click that trend brief. And now it's going to give me a 2-page brief to give me a little bit more background on what smart packaging integration is all about. So let's take a look at that. Here we go. There's a summary of smart packaging integration. And again, this is very specific for printing machine to print cereal boxes, okay? And then here are some negative implications for Kellogg. Here are some positive implications for them. And here are some recommendations. And if you want to go deeper, here are some citations. So now that's all under the market trends. Let's go down here under the common problems. And I have no idea about this ink and material waste, but maybe this is something, Imad, that you'll hear about, you know, when you talk to Kellogg. Hey, we got a lot of ink waste here. Well, tell me more about that. Well, now you could check into that ahead of time and understand a little bit more about that problem. So when the customer brings it up, you'll be able to dive a lot deeper on it. So let's take a look at the problem brief for this. So we got a summary here. We got the causes and conditions of it. We have the relevant metrics. And then we have the impact of solving the problem and the citations. And we're going to have another section added in a few more weeks that says possible solutions, because it's pretty cool that AI is able to generate some really interesting solutions. Now, the last one is we've got all these steps. Let's look at machine setup here, because, you know, this is more important to you probably, Imad, than maybe the ink mixing, right? Or maybe some of the other steps here. Maybe the plate making would be important. I don't know. But let's see. Yeah, is that true for you? The machine setup might be?
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. So, and that's a point, I think. You don't have to look at everything. You can zoom in on whichever ones are important to you. So for the machine setup for cereal boxes printing, here, who does it? Okay, where do they do it? What training is needed? What support? What conditions? What options? How long does it take them to do? 15 minutes to an hour. What are the issues with this? Misalignment of plates, incorrect link levels. And then this part is really cool. Here are some ideas of doing machine setup faster, better, cheaper. Now, over the years, we developed something called the AMUSE methodology: accelerate, minimize, upgrade, simplify, eliminate. And it's got dozens and dozens of ways of improving a customer process. All of that has been loaded into our AI prompt. So it gives you some pretty cool ideas here. So that's the deal on this. Any questions before we go to the role playing here? And Katie, was anybody having any issues keeping up with what we're doing here? Any that I need to pause at all, or is everybody okay?
As far as I know, everyone's okay.
Okay, oops, I did something wrong here. Let me go back here. Let me share that. There we go. All right, good. All right, so we'll keep going on this then. Now, over on the right, you see role play with Claire. So let's go ahead and we'll do a little role play here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put in, let's see if it ended up here. Printing machines. Okay, I'm going to load this in because now I'm in the actual setup here. So let me add in a new one here. I'll put in, and you guys may want to do this as well. So it's a piece of equipment we've got. It's a piece of equipment called a printing machine. And you can pick anything here that you want to for this. I'm going to go ahead and I'll just pick this one here. So I got a printing machine. Okay. And they use it to print cereal boxes. Okay. We'll do that. And now I could also specify who I want to talk to. So maybe I'll talk to a production supervisor. And by the way, you can specify a specific job function when you're setting up your report as well. So I'm going to click this. Now, we're going to do an interview of a production supervisor, and they're going to use printing machines to print cereal boxes, okay? Now, there's 3 people involved in this conversation. There's me, we'll call me a salesperson. There's the AI customer, and there's Claire, who's going to give me advice. Now, if I do the novice interview, I'll just keep hitting click, 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 and all 3 roles will be played and I can watch. If I do the intermediate level, I have to ask the questions, customer will respond, and Claire will go, nice job, Dan, or hey, you could do better after every question. If I do the expert level, I'm on my own asking the questions the whole time, and Claire gives me advice at the very end. So I'm going to hit intermediate here, and I'm going to say, I'll just shorten this a little bit. Can you tell me what challenges you're facing today? There you see in blue. That's the question I'm asking. And the AI customer is going, yeah, what kind? Oh, we're getting inconsistent print quality. Some are coming out faded or smudged. Okay, I'll zoom a little bit more so you guys can see this a little bit better here. Great question, Dan. Great start. Now do some what questions. Ask about the frequency under conditions. I'll say, when do you see this? When do you see this problem? And by the way, we're probably going to go voice to text a little bit. My typing is so bad. So now, and I could have asked other questions, but that's a decent what question, is when do you see it? Most often during high-speed print runs. Not all the time, but frequent enough. Okay. Now, are there specific conditions? I'll ask that. I like that question. Are there specific conditions where you see this problem? We'll see what they come back with. Now, I'm going to keep this short here a little bit, but normally I would keep going on with quite a few what questions here. High humidity. Oh, okay, I got to ask this. Okay. So how high is too high? We'll see. And by the way, when you're doing this, don't be afraid to push the customer a little bit on this. The AI customer is pretty darn good. But also remember, it's AI. Don't trust everything. Okay, above 60% are humidity. So that might be the case. We don't know for sure. Now what are we going to do? I'm going to go to a why question. How does this impact you? That's kind of that's a go-to easy one to ask, So let's see. And by the way, I could have spent a lot more time on smudging versus what was the other thing? Fading. I mean, there's a lot I could have gone into. So she said, okay, nice job on the why question. Now she wants me to keep going, but for time, I'm going to go to a clarifying question. So do you want to minimize inconsistent printing under high humidity conditions. We'll try that for. Remember, you always start with a verb. Minimize and maximize are your best verbs when you're doing this, okay? Exactly. Now, I would go on and say, so what other problems do you see? Because you always want to keep going. You're there to understand the customer's problems. Keep probing. Your competitor salespeople are not doing this. It's a huge advantage. Now, I'm going to say goodbye to this interview here. Normally, you would go longer on the what questions, you'd go longer on the why questions, and then you would keep going and keep probing on the next problem here and so forth. So it looks like I've got my next steps button ready to go here. I'm going to click that. And first of all, Claire's going to recommend some e-learning that I watch. So I can check that out, see what that looks like. But also, if I scroll back up here a little bit, she says I asked a total of 5 questions. I really only started the second problem, but 3 what questions, 1 why, 1 clarify. And then she gives me some advice on how to do some of these things a little bit better and tells me where my strengths were. And so I can keep doing this more, but that's basically it. All right, let me just pause for a little bit. And any questions that anybody has so far on what we've covered? If Scott or Katie, if anything went in the chat for questions, we can handle that. Or if anybody wants to ask a question on either the report preparation or the role playing, we can just have them unmute or raise their hands and we'll unmute them. I'll give you guys a few seconds. Yeah, Katie, anything?
We do have 2 questions in the Q&A.
Please.
So the first is how to export this report to a printable paper so that you can bring it to the desk of your conversation partner.
Excellent. Let me go over to the SalesPrep main website because everybody's going to get access to this in a minute, okay? So I'll handle that one first, and I'll come back for the second question, okay? So this is where you guys are going to go once you log in. I'm going to give you a code for 60 days, okay? In fact, let me just show you that real quick. You're going to come here, okay? And you're going to hit the login. I'm not sure. You're going to hit the start button right here. I'll give you this in a minute. And you're going to fill this in. And you're just going to put down here 60, okay? That's the promo code. I know it's really tricky. Anyway, but once you get in there, I'm going to log in. This is what you're going to see right here. Okay, so you create a report just like I did, but you put in who you want to create it for. And then once it's created, let's imagine, okay, let's imagine we did one here like Coca-Cola bottling for wooden pallets. I don't remember doing that, but we'll go ahead and put that in here. Okay. Now, your question is, how do you print this in paper? So what you want to do is just come up here to the PDF right here, and you can just go ahead and click SalesPrep internal use, and it will create a PDF for you. So you can store that PDF wherever you want and then just print it out. That's probably the easiest way to do the whole report. And notice when you do it, it'll have some prompts. So if it's in your portfolio, it gives you some tips on some of the things we teach in e-learning: listen, ask, suggest, and then your what, why, clarify questions. So you got some prompts in here as well. So you can absolutely print that out. While I'm thinking about it, before I come to question number 2, Katie, when you are up here, you can also print out handouts for the customer. So maybe you print out industry trends and you're meeting with the purchasing agent at Coca-Cola. You want to get past the purchasing agent. So you hand him or her this and say, listen, we've been looking at some of these industry trends for pallets being used for bottling. We did it just for you guys. We prepared just for the Coca-Cola bottling company. And then you hand them the pen and you go, which of these would you say are of greatest concern to you? And they go, oh, I'm going to check lightweight pallets. And then you say, really, who should I be talking to about that? So that's a nice way of getting past the purchasing agents, okay? All right, so that's how you print the paper. Katie, what was the second question that we had?
Is there a place that provides guidance or prompts on questioning protocols, such as when to use open-ended and close-ended questions?
Yes, that's a wonderful question. There is, it's in our e-learning, but there is something else that we now have that I should show you that is not in the sales prep practice because it just came out this week. Let me just show you how it works. This is pretty cool. So let's imagine we're going to go to Amazon and we are going to visit them. And let's imagine we make corrugated boxes. We're going to stay on that same theme, Ahmed. And they use it to ship, package, and ship merchandise. And we're going to, well, I don't care who. Yeah, we're going to go ahead and we're gonna meet with the warehouse packer. Okay, we got a time to meet with the packer. Hit next. Okay, now it's creating all of these, just as you saw before. So we'll get that in here. But I'm getting to your question on the questions here, believe it or not. And then I'm going to hit the next button, and we're going to get the company news on this. And the next thing that I'm going to show you is you can ask it to suggest questions, okay? So let me click this. Now, I hit it twice. Hang on a second. Sorry about that. I got a little bit goofed up with my Zoom bar here. Here we go. So you can ask it to generate some exploratory questions. And when you do, it will give you up to 10 questions. Now, these questions, I wish I hadn't clicked that because it's not letting me. Let me go back again a second here. Let me see. I hit the button. Let me see if I can do that again. Hit next, company news. Yeah, I already, there's a screen that asks me, sorry, I goofed that up. There's a screen that says, do you want 10 exploratory questions? And are there any things you'd like about your product that are particularly good? So if I said my corrugated boxes are stronger or better moisture resistance or whatever, I could put that in. Now I'm going to click all these questions. And when we do this, what's going to happen is those questions are going to come out at the very top of my report. Now, coming back to that excellent question about open-ended and so forth, we think about the ladder of abstraction. You want to start high on the ladder of abstraction and not go too focused. You don't want to walk in there and go, so tell me about the problems you're having with wooden pallets being infested by bugs. You don't want to do that. You want to start with, what's a typical day look like for you in the warehouse? What are some challenges you're facing? Any recent changes or improvements you've had? Very high level. And then later, we've been hearing about the importance of improved durability. And how do you feel about this? So you get more specific as you go. So again, we've got a lot of this in the e-learning training, but if you ask for our questions to be generated, they will naturally take you down the ladder of abstraction from high abstraction to more concrete. Hopefully that answered that question okay. Anybody want to raise your hand and we'll unmute you with any questions you may have?
Yeah.
We do have two other questions in the Q&A, Dan.
Yeah, please.
Are there any plans to offer creation of presentations in PowerPoint?
Probably not. Probably not. We're more about preparing people for the actual interview. And again, preparing in two ways, with a lot of insights and with the skills needed. But it's a great question because there are some AI tools out there now that I've been using that really are helpful going from text to graphics. And I've been using those to create the right pictorial graphics for PowerPoints and so forth. So I think it's a great application of AI, but probably not one that we'll get into. Yeah, good. What's the other one, Katie?
If we ask Claire more specific technical questions, such as for one particular model of machine, would Claire be able to develop an answer for that?
To a surprisingly large degree, yes. This is what has really shocked us. I used to work in an area where this is when I was in the chemical industry. We made a thickener that's used in hair gels and sunscreens and pharmaceuticals and stuff. And so I was pushing the AI customer quite a bit. I said, well, what's the problem? And well, it runs off. The lotion, the sunscreen runs off. It's too thin or can't be too thin. Well, how thick is too thin? And she was describing it for me. Then I said, well, how many Brookfield centipoise viscosity, Brookfield viscosity centipoise is it? And it gave me an answer that was pretty darn close. So I would say when you're working with Claire and the AI guide, do not be afraid to push it and get very, very specific. But I would also say this, it is AI. And, if the customer says it's 6,000 to 8,000 CPS viscosity, and Claire says it's 1 to 2,000, believe the customer, okay? So remember that you are really practicing your skills when you're with Claire. However, to a surprisingly large degree, it's very accurate and will probably get more so as time goes on. Excellent question. Good. Anything else in chat or any hands raised at all for us, Katie?
That's all so far.
So let me give a little overview of what's in here, and then we'll go back, see if you have any more questions, and we'll get you going on 60 days. Okay. So when you get logged in, this is what you're going to see. So just a little orientation. Down below here on the right says reports. These are how many reports I've downloaded. AI guide, that's how many sessions I've had with Claire. And then where it says certification, yours will show you 10 e-learning modules. When you get all 10 e-learning modules done and you do 10 sessions with Claire and 10 downloads, you'll be certified. And a cool thing will pop up. Scott lined this up for us. With a single click, you can now announce your certification in LinkedIn. So that's down below. Now look at this up here. These are all the different ways of using SalesPrep. So take a few minutes when you get a chance to click view, and you're going to see some really cool ideas here on ways of using SalesPrep that might not have been obvious to you before. Okay, so that's there. Now up at the top here, you're going to have resources. Download these PDF guides. You got 60 days to do this. So download the Everyday Guide. There's a more advanced SALT probing, which you can learn about in the e-learning. And there's a lot of stuff in here. And if you want to know more about our Everyday VOC workshop, the recording, the logbook, and all that, it's here. Now, the AI guide is here. So anytime you want, you can do a role play on any offering and any job to be done. When you're in the e-learning, once you finish one, it'll gray out, but you can always view it again. You can always look at my reports here and see what's in here and sort these and so forth. And by the way, when you're over here on your name, you go to account in my offerings. This is where you hit the my offerings and you can add in any new offerings. So a lot of people like to come here first and just spend 10 or 15 minutes and load up all their offerings and the customer's job to be done. Then when you do a report or an AI session guide with Claire, it's a lot faster because it's preloaded. Up to you if you want to do that. And then back on the dashboard here, all you got to do is load in the company. If you don't see the company coming up because it's really small, really private, put their URL in here and it will find them. Okay. All right. I am going to go back to the last slide on the deck here. And we are going to wrap this up. I'll make sure I'm here. And again, any questions, we'll hang around if you have any. In fact, I am getting, so let me tell you about the trial. Just go out to salesprep.com and load in your name and your email. There's no credit card needed. And just put in the promo code 60. And then if you want to know more about Everyday VOC training for your team, do that. Contact me and so forth. Well, if you have some questions, you guys know where we live. Just reach out to us. I'd also maybe offer this up. If you think this could be helpful for your team, it could be marketing, technical, and so forth, but also especially think about your sales organization. If you've got a sales leader that might be interested in this, we would love to have them join us. If you have a decision maker or a decision influencer at your company, like a sales leader, business leader, anybody who kind of checks things out, drop me an email or Scott dan.adams@amessage.com. And what I'll do is I'll send you a free pass to our public everyday VOC workshop. The next one coming up is next Thursday, and then we'll have another one in January. And this is a 4-hour public workshop. Obviously, SalesPrep is featured a lot in this, but this is where we go into whole everyday VOC training. We get into what, why, clarify. We have a 1-hour breakout with real human coaches where they practice. And it's identical to that 4-hour private workshop that we use to go on to sales meetings and things like that. So this is your chance, or your sales leader's chance, to come and check it out and say, gosh, I know I got a sales meeting coming up in 2025. I wonder if this is what we should be doing for our 4-hour, training that we want to do. And again, once we do that private session, we'll stay with your team, do follow-up webinars. There's a dashboard where your sales leader can look at the progress, how many interviews did they do, how many downloads. We're really into behavior change on this thing, not just a workshop. We think, here's my closing thought. With new product blueprinting, we have helped companies drive organic growth for years, but it's longer term growth. You go figure out what the customer needs are, then you develop a product, then the sales comes up. It's like 2 or 3 years before what you did in VOC can impact your top line. Not so with everyday VOC. If your sales team starts using this, and we have a lot of feedback on this, they will so engage their customers that they're going to start picking up business this year, or 2025. So if you're looking for something to drive growth in 2025, we think this is going to be something that will be very helpful for you. Hey, thanks everybody for coming. Really appreciate you taking time out. If you have any questions, just give us a holler. Have a great rest of the day. Thanks, everybody.